Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and consider my candidacy. I'm Dr. Raquel Donoso, and I'm running for the Contra Costa Community College District Board. And I'm running because I personally and professionally know how transformative community college can be. My mom attended community college while raising three children and became a nurse. That really changed our family's trajectory. And then several decades later, as a parent, I watched my own son earn his associate's degree and STEM certificate through Contra Costa College. Education has been central to my career. I earned my doctorate in education from UC Davis. I've spent more than 20 years directly expanding educational opportunities for young people. I've led organizations, I've managed significant investments and budgets, all while working alongside students, families, and educators. I believe that experience uniquely prepares me to serve at this pivotal moment for the district in this role. And I'm proud to have the support of Senator Jesse Adeguin and Supervisor John Joya, State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, Assemblymember Ana Marie Avila Farias, and college trustees Fernando Sandoval and retiring trustee John Marquez. So thank you.
I'll have the questions as soon as my phone cooperates.
Okay.
I see them, but they're trying to get them.
Michael, I can take the first one if you'd like.
Oh, please do while I try to do this.
All right. Hi, Raquel. My name is Irene. I'm the past president
Hi,
of the
Irene.
Kensington Downs. It's great to see you.
Nice
What
to
are
see
your
you.
top three priorities if elected, and how will they be funded? And you have 2 minutes to answer.
Sure. Well, one, I really do believe in student success and equity. That is my top priority. We have to make sure that students that are coming into our colleges are leaving better off, that they're transferring or they're getting some kind of degree or a certificate that's going to allow them to have a good paying job. So first and foremost, that's what our colleges are focused on right now. It's part of our funding formula. And so that is work that we have funding to do, need to keep our eye on, and really make sure we're looking at that data, that information, and thinking creatively about how we can, support students. So that's first. Second is responsible governance. We, like so many others, are facing budget issues with the new funding formula, with the changes in, kind of where students are going and what they're doing while they're in school. And so I want to make sure that we have inclusion around our budget, that we keep students and faculty, what happens in instruction first and foremost, as we think about the budget decisions that we have to make. And then finally, I would say that partnerships, community, coalition and partnerships is also something that I'm very much focused on. We have a lot of good partnerships with some of the unions like the firefighters and the building trades. We have partnerships with Kaiser, with Tesla, with others. I think those are really important. I think they can grow and deepen, and especially the partnership with K-12. We need more teachers. We know that we need more teachers. The teachers that stay are ones that come from our community. We see this happening all over the state, and I really think we can build better partnerships with West Contra Costa Unified beyond middle college, and really think about how are we going to prepare a workforce, a teacher workforce for our schools. So I do think that those are things that require funding. A lot of that funding exists. I've also been somebody who's worked at the state level to go and access funding and use those dollars at the local level. And so I would very much be advocating for that and figure out where else can we get funding, both from state money and potentially also for foundations. I work in the philanthropic sector right now, and so I would be thinking creatively about that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll take two, which was Irene's as I was trying to straighten my phone out. How would you work with others to support the college district priorities?
Yeah, well, I will say this is an area that I have a lot of experience in. One of the biggest initiatives I ran, a $30 million initiative with San Francisco Unified through the Obama Promise Neighborhood. And I was the director of the Mission Promise Neighborhood. And so in that work, we had over 50 partners, including our community college, other four-year universities, the district, the city initiatives. And so I really came in and they were not necessarily in a great place around partnerships and rebuilt the trust, rebuilt partnerships, figured out how do we get to a common goal? How do we do that work? And so that's something I feel like I have a lot of strength in. I am good at kind of bringing coalitions and bringing different people together, even the ones who don't necessarily want to be there or who looked at me really challengingly and said, I don't really know you or trust you. I've been able to build that and to get them on the other side. And I will just say that we worked with John O'Connell High School. It was a career focused school. That school went to over 80, I think 86% graduation rate among all students, 93% graduation rate for Black students. I was really proud of that. And over half of our students then went on to college. That was a school that didn't have those results. And so I know that coming together in partnership and thinking about what we can do and how do we stay focused on the results gets you there. So I guess you could say I'm excited about this because I do think I'm a really good partner with the community, with schools, with colleges, so that we can figure out, how do we build those pathways for students.
Thank you. Raquel, question 3.
California Proposition 16 prohibits affirmative action. What actions are you willing to take to ensure equity for incoming students? What will you do to ensure equity and inclusivity for students of all ethnic backgrounds in public education?
Yeah. I really appreciate this question because as I was thinking back at all of the different propositions I worked on, Prop 209, which stopped that at the state level, was actually one of the things that got me activated around politics and fighting. Also, Prop 187 for immigrant students and immigrant families. And so I have been working my entire career. Actually, after we passed Prop 209 in California, I then sat on the board at the UCs, or it was a committee at the UCs, to really think about how else can we identify diversity and figure out a pathway for students to come into schools. And so that was a number of different things because it was not a one size fits all for every student group. We had to really think about it for Asian students, for Black students, for Latino students, for other low income students. And so I have been kind of, in that place to directly understand and help to provide input and then lead work that was about how we create more diversity and make sure everybody has an opportunity in our education system. So I feel confident that we can start to look at the data. We can figure out like where do we need the partnerships to bring more people in? How do we go out and actually, do that kind of recruitment and discussions with students and make sure that they are coming into the college and then completing the coursework that they want to complete. So I've been doing that work, especially for over 20 years. And so I feel, pretty confident about that.
Okay, thank you. What are the most pressing budget issues facing your ward and the district as a whole, including public pension obligations?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I will just say a couple of things about the budget. I mean, I know a lot. I've been working on budget issues for a long time. So I was actually at the K-12 level on our LCAP. When we changed the formula over to the local control funding formula, the district is going through something similar right now with the student center funding formula. And so I've been really kind of studying and at the board meetings, paying attention to what's happening there. So I do know that these are issues that are coming up for us. And I would say a couple of things about them. One is I do think we need to kind of forecast and think a little bit more about what are the trends going into the future, right? So there are some things that might be shorter term, and then what are some of the longer term structural issues that we need to be thinking about? What are the efficiencies that we do have in our system that we can start to really lean on and work on so that we can start to narrow that down? But the other thing I will just say about all of this is that there are two things with this new funding formula. One is enrollment, but the other is completion. And that completion part is much newer for us as a district for all community colleges in California. And I will just say that, I think we have to have even more serious conversations about how we get students to finish what they want to come in to finish. And so it's going to take both looking fiscally at the budget and also about the instruction, the student supports, the kinds of things that, that we have to make sure are there so students complete their programs. And that is something that I really want to, can bring with my experience to this position, so that we can increase our funding over time, the more students complete their programs. And I know we can do it. I've seen districts doing it. I know some of our colleges are doing it really well. And I think that that's something we should, I like that. Anyway, I'm done.
Like the Academy
I
Awards.
do. It makes it sound so much better than the dings or the yeah.
Irene, you're up next.
All right. So next question from me is, how is the district going to recruit a diverse workforce, both faculty and staff?
Yeah, a couple of things I will say on that. One, in terms of faculty, I think we consistently need to look at the kinds of pay and benefits that we are providing, and the working conditions, right, that we are providing faculty so that they will come to our college and then stay here for a while. So that's something I think we need to do is really important. I would definitely be a partner with faculty thinking about that. In my role at the foundation, we've actually funded some, it was at the K-12 level, but we funded some work to do that, to increase teacher pay, to make sure that the retention is high. And some of that work we've funded, I've learned a lot from what they've done and been able to kind of think about like, how would we do that at this level? So in my governance role, that is something, I'd love to kind of have more conversations about. So that's on the teacher. And on the student side, I do know that there's, an attack on higher education. I'm not going to, say I don't live in the current times, see what people are saying. There's a whole like no degree, kind of campaign going out there that is just wrong. Students that have some kind of education or complete a program actually do make more money, have better wages, have more sustainable jobs. And so we have to keep the pressure on the messaging that it's important for young people to go into some program after high school in order to get on a career path that makes sense for them. And so I really, am somebody who does a lot of work on this. I've been doing it for decades. I strongly believe in it, and I, in this role, will continue for us to push that message and to push out the understanding of what students need to see what other students have done. And so being able to push out that information and those messages, I think, are really important so we can make sure that our students are coming to our college and leaving with something that matters to them.
Okay, thank you. Rafael, number 6.
What is the commitment and plan of the district to upgrade the status, salary, and benefits of adjuncts who are at least 2/3 of the teaching staff?
Yeah, I will say I'm not entirely sure what the district's plan is around that. That is an area where I'd want to um, kind of find out more about. So I am writing a note to myself on that, on adjunct staff. I know that this has been an issue for many colleges, and part of this is how do we increase our budget, and that goes back to the student centered funding formula. So I'm sure that there are things that we need to do and work on around that, but this is definitely an area I think I'd need to learn a little bit more about and would be willing to bring back, to come back and kind of think about what our plan would be, or how I in this role can support the plan of the district in terms of how to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
What has been the policy of the district in relation to ICE, the undocumented, and Dreamers?
Yeah.
Are there changes or updates that you would like?
Yeah. Well, one, I will say that that is part of the reason that, when I learned that Trustee Marquez was retiring, that I felt compelled to step up. I'm the daughter of immigrants. Of Latino immigrants. I am in a community where this issue is very personal to me. It's an issue I care deeply about. I definitely in my family have had family members who are not documented stay with us, be with us, try, and it's all because they're just trying to make sure to support their families. And so this is something I care very, very deeply about. I think we've been lucky in the Bay Area in some ways that the kind of attacks on undocumented immigrants we haven't seen as much as like in LA where most of my family lives. Um, and I still feel a need to have trustees who are really going to protect the rights of our students. I know that our colleges are supportive and protective of our students, but I want to make sure that every single student feels like this is a place that they can come and be safe no matter what. We may not have been tested in the way some others are, and we may be. And I want to be a trustee who will stand up for our undocumented students and their families, not just them, right? They need to know that their families are protected and good. I've had several students say that they had to drop out recently because they had to help their families during this time because things have been so hard for them. And I want to make sure that, we can think creatively as a district about how we can help those students remain in school during this time. So I will do everything in my power to make sure that we protect the rights of our students and especially our undocumented students.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Raquel. Next question from me. How would you work to ensure the student trustee has the same rights as the other trustees?
I think that is such a great question. Thank you, Irene, for asking that. Over the past year, I've been going to our community college meetings. I've heard the several of the trustees when they give their comments and on specific issues as different issues have been brought up, especially the issue around the budget. Um, I will just say, and I hope this is not too, I will just say that I really think that the student trustee should have voting power on that board. They go to the meetings. They, are interacting with their with fellow students every day. They're getting their input. They're bringing that input to the board. I think we need to take that input more seriously. I think we have to figure out if there's a way for them to be able to vote on the items and not just provide us their reporting and their information back as a good to know, but as actually having a deeper stake in the decisions that we make. And um, so anyway, it is something that I believe deeply about. I always have. I was on the founding board of RISE. And one of the things in Richmond, it's the Richmond Youth Center. It was really hard when we were being founded. There was a lot of just tensions in the community. And one of the things that I learned the most from that experience was that we as a board were not leading that organization. Young people were leading that organization. We were their proxies. We were sometimes the helpful voice. We were the person bringing resources for them, but they were leading the agenda. They were leading what they wanted to say, how it was going to be said. And in that role, it really taught me a lot of humility around how to partner and how to be with young people. And so I've carried that with me since that time. It's been now decades, maybe 15 years. But I really have carried that with me and want to be able to do that with the student trustee.
How will you work with the student governments at all three schools to ensure the needs, wants, and concerns of students are being met?
Yeah, that is the other reason that I decided to run for this office. I was a parent at 18, and so I went to college while I was raising my son. As I think back, and I think that's why I ended up going into this career and doing this work because I couldn't have done it alone. I was able to get subsidized housing. I was able to get free childcare. I was able to get emergency loans when I needed them. I was able to get free transportation. Those are the things that helped me stay in school. And if I hadn't stayed, I don't know how I would have provided for my family, for my son, because I was a single parent. And so I've been hearing from students that these are a lot of their needs as well. I want to be on this board, not just for a short time, but hopefully for a long time, because it takes time to kind of put solutions together, get the funding, and implement them. And I really want to do that because I think we should think about workforce and student housing. I think we definitely have to expand childcare for our students. I think we have to do a better job of figuring out how they can get food and health insurance and the kinds of things that let them stay in school. And so I will definitely work with all three of the campuses and the students. It's the part of the work I love the most, to be honest, to make sure that we can start putting some of those solutions into plans and then getting the resources and making them happen. It does take a while. I just met with the president of Compton College, Dr. Keith Curry, and he just broke ground on 250 student housing beds at Compton College. And I asked him, like, what did it take? And he said, this has been 10 years in the making. And so I was like, all right, I want to commit to being that kind of leader for this college to be able to do that. John Marquez started that when he passed the bond and, really worked on trying to get more our facilities done. And I want to continue that legacy.
Perfectly timed.
I mean,
I'm
what is
getting better.
what is your plan for how the district moves forward since Measure G failed to pass?
Since failed to with the bond, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. A couple of things. I've been really thinking about this. I've actually been talking to voters about this and hearing from some voters who have told me, I've always said yes to the bond measures for schools, and this time I wasn't sure. Um, I think we need to go and listen to more voters. I think we need to kind of think about why. I mean, I know there's many economic reasons and people are feeling pushed. I also know our schools, that our community cares about our schools. And so I do think we need to listen to what voters had to say. We need to think about, like, really ingest that information and then think about, where do we go from here and how can we, bring more resources for our facilities. Our facilities do need work. I mean, that's the bottom line. If we sit here and say that we want, more partnerships, for young people to get into apprenticeships, to get into other kind of workforce partnerships, those things do need infrastructure. And we don't always have those infrastructure right now at the colleges. So I do think we need to listen. We need to figure out then, how do we let voters know this is what we've done so far with the funding, right? This is where that money has gone. And this is what more we have to do as colleges in order for young people to really be able to leave here, with the kinds of degrees and programs that they need to get jobs. So I think we can do it. I would be a strong advocate for it. I think there just needs to be a little bit of reflection and figuring out and then coming back with a stronger plan so that there's no question from voters. And we did do really, I mean, we didn't get the 55%. We did well. I think there's opportunity in the future for us to go back.
Okay, thank you. You want to give us your closing statement?
Sure. Well, as you know, community colleges represent some of the best of our democratic values. It's accessible public education. They provide economic mobility, respect for working people, and the belief that everyone deserves the opportunity to build a better future. As I've shared today, I've seen that promise in my own family. I've spent more than 20 years of my career working to create those same opportunities for other young people and families. That's why this particular office means so much to me. I didn't set out to run for office. I decided to run because I believe my experience in education, my leadership, my experience around financial issues and community has prepared me for this moment and for this position. I'm particularly honored to have the endorsement of retiring trustee John Marquez. It really does mean so much to me. He's served this community in this role for more than 20 years. And his trust in me to continue that legacy is something I take extremely seriously. So, if elected, I'll work every day to make sure our colleges are places where students from every background can find opportunity, belonging, and a path to a better future, especially working students and student parents. They make up a lot of our community. I understand their needs and I want to work on their behalf. So, I would be deeply honored to have the endorsements of West County and the Democratic Party of Contra Costa County. So thank you all for your time on this. I know it takes a lot to do all of this.